Really looked like the Cubs were rolling in Arizona. I had them at 3-1 on the trip, and then the bullpen melted down in epic fashion, and the Cubs drop to the Diamondbacks. There's some positives to take out of this, though. We're going to talk about Kyle Tucker, who really does look like a star, Dansby Swanson with a home run, and starting to kind of give you the feel that he may be able to contribute. The bullpen's got to get better. We're also going to talk about the Cubs stacking all their prospects in Iowa again this year, how that could help the team down the road. Thanks for hanging out with us on the Cubs Baseball channel. Like, subscribe, thumbs up. Let's get this party started. Hope you guys are having a great day. What do you say, everybody? Mick Gillespie, Cubs Baseball channel is kind of getting set up. This is the new studio that we're going to use during the season at times, depending on where I'm at. But thank you guys for being here. Like, subscribe, thumbs up. All right. It's unbelievable, but this Cubs team over the last, I don't know, forever, just can't seem to put together the final outs of a game to win. And it was just devastating watching the Cubs give up 8 runs in the bottom of the 8th inning. No one could get an out. It felt like that this team had finally kind of started to build some momentum, and then just an absolutely epic fail. It's a loss that kind of is reminiscent to some of the stuff we saw last year. The pieces that the Cubs went out and were hoping would be able to help them, Pearson, and then Thielbar, okay, and then Morgan, just terrible. Morgan was terrible in the game. So they're going to have to pick up the pieces. It is definitely, a 10-6 loss when you're ahead 6-2 going into the bottom of the 8th inning and give up 8 runs is just awful. But you know what? It's the game of baseball, and the best part about it is you get to go play another game today. So, and they'll do that tonight. So let's talk about some good stuff here. Kyle Tucker looks like a star. Another game with a home run, 3 runs batted in. He gives a real presence in the lineup. I'm seeing why the Cubs felt so, basically like they had to make this deal. They gave up a lot to get him, but even in the outfield, he's a really, really, really good player, and I think that it's going to continue to show. It's a shame that the Cubs weren't able to win the game because of the pitching. When you got a guy like him that's back-to-back games giving you a really good chance to win by driving in runs, and putting you in a position where you're taking advantage of one player and what they can bring to the table. But what I see with this guy is that he can hit any pitch out of the park. He's got a lot of power, and he's also kind of becoming that guy in the lineup. I can see it now where you better kind of watch where he is, because you may have to tangle with him. And so, they had him in the 3 hole, which I didn't mind the lineup. Hap, Suzuki, Tucker, in the 1, 2, 3 spot, to me, is pretty good. Dansby Swanson had a couple more hits. I'm going to talk about him in a second and why I think he's still the most important player on the team so far. But I want to remind you guys that it's baseball season's here, and we're brought to you by DraftKings, and our promo code CBC stands for the Cubs Baseball channel.
I might still be wearing my winter layers, but the start of baseball season means spring is upon us. I've teamed up with DraftKings to bring the excitement to my fellow fans of one of America's most beloved games. Right now, they are offering all new customers $200 in bonus bets instantly after betting just $5. Download the DraftKings app now and sign up using our code CBC. Cubs Baseball Channel, CBC. The crown is yours. Stay in on all the action and use your $200 in bonus bets on DraftKings same-game parlays for a shot at even bigger payouts. Combine multiple bets together from the same game. Love the thrill of live betting? DraftKings has got you covered. Bet live on in-progress games right as they happen, making watching the game that much more exciting. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. You can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings Pick 6 and have a shot to win cash prizes. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use our promo code CBC and bet just $5 on any wager and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code CBC only at DraftKings Sportsbook.
Yeah, take advantage of our promo code at DraftKings CBC Cubs Baseball channel. All right, Dansby Swanson, I've talked about him a lot, and I do believe still to this second that even as good as Kyle Tucker can be and the superstar potential that Tucker brings to the game every single day, I still think that Dansby Swanson's the most important player on the Cubs team. From a leadership standpoint, we saw the play that ended the game a couple of nights ago where he tagged the guy out at third on the diving play, and it could have been a situation where the bases were loaded with 2 outs. Instead, he made that just incredible pump fake and tag. But the hitting's the thing that he has to do for this club to be good. And he had 2 more hits, including a home run. I think that showing some power. You'd love to get 25, 30 home runs out of him. You'd love to see him bat at least 260. If he could give you 260 with 25, 30 home runs, somewhere around the 80, runs batted in mark, I think this team will make the playoffs and it'll be a very good team. I mean, it could be a lot worse, right? I mean, I know our bullpen was bad. Did you guys see the Brewers though? Oh my God. They're over there trying to get the Yankees out swinging those bowling pin bats. If you haven't seen those yet, you got to check it out. They're like bats that look like bowling pins. Which is pretty funny. But anyway, Dansby Swanson continues to me to be the key for this team to be successful. As rough as that loss is, remember that there's another game. We're going to talk about it tonight, and they're just going to have to figure it out. I don't feel like that this is an indicator of what Eli Morgan's all about. I mean, 2/3 of an inning and 6 runs. Everybody has one of those outings. The guy really put together an amazing season a year ago. Timing was bad. You get stuck with these guys in the game because you can't really take them out. They got to face 3 batters. Not that he did, but to watch him get beat around like that was, you feel like he could never get an out. And then, eventually I'm sure he'll get it dialed in and, and this will be the worst of the, outings for him. At least I hope so. That was really hard to watch. Cubs, I've mentioned that the Cubs have put all of their prospects in Iowa. The question I've had is why rush all of these guys to Iowa when you're just going to leave them in Iowa because you don't have spots for them on the major league team. And, but that's kind of what the strategy is right now. And, when you look at it, the top 5 guys were there last year anyway. So it's not like, you're putting, moving guys in the spots that they weren't. And so those guys include Cade Horton, who's the only pitcher of the group. And MLB.com has him as a top 50 prospect. Or 51, but he's coming off of an injury last year, had a shoulder deal. You're talking about a guy when he's healthy. I think he's as good as any Cubs pitching prospect that we've seen over the last 20 years. He's got to go out there and throw strikes. But there's just something about this guy. And the Cubs need him in the big leagues sooner than later. So I'm sure if he kind of, is healthy and doing his thing, you'll see him in the major leagues. I mean, I'm still guessing that they're going to slot him as a starter. But when you watch him melt down like they did in yesterday's game, I mean, you just need somebody to help you get outs. Maybe you put him in that spot. I don't know. I still think he's a starter. I think he could be like the number 2 starter in this rotation, maybe by the end of the year, right-hander that, is just hard to hit. Now, the other guy that I love is Owen Casey. He's another, top prospect. I think he's the Cubs' top prospect, I guess, if it was me. Last year he hit 19 home runs. And, he hit 22 the year before that. He's still a really young guy. He's only 22 years old, plays the field really well, has a good arm, knows the game. He's someone that you could put in the outfield and could be a regular star player for a long time. And if Kyle Tucker ends up going somewhere else at the end of the year, or the Cubs may look at it and say, hey, you know what, we got Owen Casey. We don't even need Kyle Tucker. I mean, and I'm not exaggerating on that. I think that Casey has that type of potential. Maybe you could figure out a way to keep both of them, but they both play right field. The same thing as Seiya Suzuki. So we got 3 right fielders, but he starts out in Iowa. Moises Ballesteros, who's the 68th prospect on this list I'm looking at. Here's a guy that got all the way up to AAA, still can't, catch good enough to be in the big leagues. But what you hope is that you develop that. They have him playing some first, but he's too short for that position. But another great day, basically great stint in spring training where he hit 350 with a couple of home runs in his 10 games there. He's got great hands. And his ability to just kind of flick the ball to me is, if you pitch him away, he can do that. But if you come inside, he can hit it a long way too. And he's kind of showing off the power. To me, it's all about him just getting better and better behind the plate. But he's a guy that if the Cubs catchers, which Miguel Amaya is off to an amazing start this season, don't hit, you always got him. Now, the other guy is James Triantos, coming in at 72. He's a second baseman. They're playing him in the outfield now to kind of make him a little bit more versatile, but he is a hit machine, gets a ton of hits, can steal bases. The biggest thing maybe he needs to work on is probably just walking a little bit more, but he's such a contact guy and he's just got an ability to hit the ball that, I'm sure for him at the plate, he's not trying to walk, he's trying to hit. But you get to the major leagues and some, you got to be able to walk too. Kind of like Albert Elmore Jr. I can remember him in the minor leagues, didn't walk a lot, got to the big leagues and it just really, made him not as good as far as getting on base because you hit the ball and they make plays on it, right? There's guys out there, and you're hitting their pitch and not yours, right? So. And then the last guy I wanted to get into was Kevin Alcantara. He comes in at 89 on the list. He starts in Iowa. He's already been to the big leagues last year, and they really like him. I mean, it's obvious that they really like him. He is an outfielder. They really have a spot for him, but he hung around camp for a while. And it felt like he was really putting up some momentum before he got sent to the minor leagues. The numbers never worked for me with him, but still, with that said, maturity's been a problem for him. He's going to have to grow up a little bit, but he's still a kid, right? Big, tall guy, long arms, kind of reminded me of Dave Winfield, just the way he stood at the plate. And even though Dave Winfield, if you guys remember him, the longtime Yankee, Padre before that, played for Toronto, but when he would could just inside out pitches with those long arms. Some guys get tied up on inside pitches, but I don't feel like Alcantara is one of those guys. I think he can hit the inside ball and he can hit the outside ball. He hits with those long arms, has a lot of plate, can get a lot of plate in there. And so we'll see what happens. But those 5 guys are the ones to watch because, obviously they're right there on the doorstep to help the Cubs. And, anything can happen at any time, but it does give the Cubs some depth. And you already know Jordan Wicks is in AAA and some other guys. The Cubs have they've got some help if they need it in the minor leagues. All right, they'll get back at it again tonight. That's a 9:05 Central Time start against the A's in Sacramento. I'm sure that trip from Arizona to Sacramento wasn't a whole lot of fun. I mean, when you blow that game like they did. But, the best thing about this is that you get to go out and do it again. And I love that about baseball. I think we've all, if you played, you've been there before, though, where you just get into a spot where you can't get the last out. They just keep scoring. And you've been on the other end of it where you can't get out. You just feel like you can't get out. Everybody's like hitting, because it is contagious. And that's what happened to the Cubs. But anyway, guys, thanks for hanging on here again. Like, subscribe, thumbs up. No matter where I travel, I'm going to try to put a show out for you. It's going to be a long season, kind of doing this. And covering the AA affiliate of the Cubs, but we'll be doing it, watching the games, and and talking Cubs baseball together on a daily basis. Thanks for hanging, and Let's go back. Let's just get this today's game taste out of our mouth and go get another one tonight and forget about yesterday. Yuck.